Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today we're going to be checking out the CURT Echo wireless brake controller on our 2020 Subaru Outback. People use these Outbacks to do a little bit of everything. They're really versatile vehicles, and that does include towing some trailers, some relatively large ones, you know, pop-up campers, things like that. And a lot of those trailers will be equipped with trailer brakes. And so whenever you're towing those type of trailers, you're going to need a way to activate those brakes and help slow them down. And so a brake controller is a must-have. Well, the problem with a lot of the traditional style brake controllers is that they're really large and bulky. So just to give you an example, here's one that would get mounted on the dash. And the problem with it is on newer vehicles, like our Outback here, for example, you don't have a ton of space in there. You know, there's not a lot of room to mount something like this, and it can kind of get annoying. You know, with that said, these are going to work fine, but I think there's a better option, and that would be to use one like this, which is the CURT Echo. And the way this is going to work is it more or less just plugs right into a 7-way. You download an app on your phone, and it's wireless, and that's going to take information and apply the brakes on your trailer whenever you're slowing down. So really convenient. When you're done with this, you take it right out, throw it in your glove box, keep it out of the way, it's out of sight. So really neat. Probably the best thing about this setup is to get it installed, really nothing to it at all. As long as you have a 7-way here, all you're gonna have to do is plug this right in, take your trailer, plug it into the other end, get on the app, set it up, and you're ready to go. So once you hook your trailer up to your CURT Echo, like I said, you're going to download the app and kind of set it up. This is something you only really have to do once for each particular trailer, so don't take up any time at all. We'll get started. Just have to agree to some of the terms and everything else. That kind of tells you what to do. You know, hook everything up there, which we have done. And then we can search for it via Bluetooth. So we'll go ahead and get that fired up. You can see it found it up there. So we'll pair with it. And this is going to work with the Android and Apple devices, so nothing to worry about there. Then it's going to give you a pairing request, and with the controller it's going to come with its own special pin. So excuse me, I'll just kind of turn this away and punch it in. That way the rest of the world here doesn't see our pin for this particular one. So once you punch that pin in, it should pair. You can go ahead and continue on. And then it's going to come up. All right, we're going to have multiple different profiles. And what we're going to be able to do with these is kind of set them up to how we want our trailer to be pulled. So for example, we're going to have a maximum output that we can adjust. Okay, so you can run that up in increments of 5. And that's going to be the amount of braking force that's applied. So for example, usually 50% is a good starting point. You know, if you notice that, let's say if your trailer is empty, okay, and you're going somewhere you don't really need much braking force, you can turn it down. But then once you load it up real heavy, you notice that the brakes aren't applying as hard as they should. That's when you can kind of run it up and find that sweet spot. You're also going to have the sensitivity, so pretty self-explanatory. How quick do you want those brakes to come on, more or less. And then we're going to have a button here. So let's say if you're in the event of have like a sway situation or something like that, and you need to apply just the trailer brakes, you can actually hold this button down, and it's going to apply just the trailer brakes. So it gives you a nice big spot to work with. A lot of the traditional style brake controllers are going to be kind of a slide lever and kind of difficult to operate. It's really not the case with this one. You know, you really can't miss it. The only thing that we have to pay attention to, since the Echo uses our brake lights our lighting signals to determine if we need to apply the brakes or not, as opposed to the traditional style ones that use our brake output, our brake signal from our brake switch here inside of the vehicle. If we ever pull off to the side of the road or something like that and we need to turn our hazards on, what we need to do is make sure we turn that on. That way, if our hazards are on, the Echo isn't getting false signals or readings and trying to apply our trailer's brakes and anything like that. So something to keep in mind there if you do happen to turn those hazards on. There's something that you may notice too when you're hooked up and going down the road. Whenever you do apply the brakes in here, it'll tell you if your trailer brakes are being applied. Now, I'm just hooked up to a tester box just to kind of simulate the trailer so we're not actually moving. But this is just going to give you a rough idea, you know, and generally speaking, the more that this blue line comes around, that's more braking force. So, for example, you know, we're not moving, it's just getting a little bit, which is perfectly acceptable. But other than that, we're going to have a few different settings. You know, we kind of talked about 5 different profiles for different trailers, things like that. You know, there's just a couple handy things in here. For example, you can change it from light to dark. So if you do some tone at nighttime or the daytime, kind of have a few different choices there. And you can use whatever works best for you. So as far as getting a brake controller in the Outback, I think something like this is definitely the way to go, especially after kind of just sitting in the driver's seat and looking at the dash. There is essentially just really no space to put that classic style brake controller. You know, could it be done? Probably, but why even waste your time trying to fight that when you could just take advantage of today's technology? You know, it's came a long way and works really well. Generally speaking, everyone has a cell phone in your pocket, so you already have the tool, might as well use it. So something that kind of crossed our minds, you know, whenever we're using the wireless brake controller, since it does kind of run off your phone or is controlled by your phone, what were to happen if your phone died while you're towing your trailer down the road? Let's say you forgot your charger or whatever the case may be. Really not a huge deal, because if that were to happen, the brake controller is just going to use the last settings you had it set at. So typically you would set everything up more or less right off the bat once you get going. And if your phone were to die, brake controller would just use those settings until you got your phone charged and needed to change them. So probably not a huge deal. Pretty much everyone I know has some type of charger in their car or something like that. But if that were to happen, you ain't got nothing to worry about. A nice touch that I did notice is whenever you plug it in and you have your 12-volt power to the brake controller, a blue light is going to illuminate. So something just glance at, know it has power, and know you're set up there. Something that's cool too is the brake controller isn't going to be permanently paired to your Subaru or married to it. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have another vehicle that you tow with, or you know, you don't plan on holding on to your car for long, but you need the brake controller and you want to get one for the next car, whatever the case may be. When you pull this out, you can use this in any vehicle that has a 7-way with 12-volt power back here. So really opens up your options, and honestly should be the last brake controller you'd ever need to buy, because it's just going to work with everything and it's going to work the way it should. So something that I do think is a pretty good idea, they actually give you this strap here with the brake controller, and the way it's going to work is it goes through these openings there on the side. So you'll pop it in like this. That way, whenever you plug it into your 7-way, you know, this is not huge, but it does have a little weight to it. And so to help prevent it, you know, from bouncing around or, you know, putting a bunch of weight on your plug, what you can do is take that strap, run it around, and kind of clip it to itself. That way it'll pull your 7-way cap down nice and tight, kind of give it a little extra support, and we know for sure now that we're not going to have to worry about some type of accidental disconnect. And that'll finish up our look at of the CURT Echo wireless brake controller on our 2020 Subaru Outback.